Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. Want to do another edition of the best pre-built computers to buy over on Amazon. We're gonna expand it a little bit. What I did is I scrounged the entire site of Amazon, and I think I got all of them, but the ones in stock right now, at least, I picked out like all of the ones that are relatively decent and aren't completely insulting. Got a little bit on the borderline here, but I wanted to include different price ranges and things like that. We're going to start off at a $600 price point and just work our way up. All the links will be in the description box, and they are Amazon affiliated links, so if you use my link and buy anything, I do get a little bit of a kickback, so that's appreciated, but I just want to make that clear to you guys up front. And I also want to add that if you do want a cheap option, there are a couple of options like south of $500 on Amazon. I think I saw like a $430 option that included like a GT 730 and pretty low-end CPU, but that can play like Valorant and things like that. If you guys want that in the description box, let me know in the comments and I'll throw that in. Otherwise, again, I picked out all the ones that looked rather decent to me. If you guys find a PC and you want my opinion on it, leave it in the comments section, and if I see it, I'm going to try to be pretty good with the responses, because I didn't check the last video, but there were so many questions in that last video, and my apologies that I did not comment on them and reply to a lot of you guys. But without further ado, let's get started. So this $600 option was honestly on the borderline of not even being mentioned, but since it is the cheapest, this one has a Ryzen 3 1200, and it's the Skytech Archangel gaming PC with a Ryzen 3 1200, so it's a little bit of a dated CPU at 3.1 gigahertz. It's still a quad-core CPU. It's got a GTX 1050 Ti at 4 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, 1 terabyte hard drive, and yeah, for $600, this isn't absolutely terrible. If you want to game at 1080p and you want to play relatively new games at decent settings, like you're not going to be maxing out games and getting 60 FPS all across the board, but if you're playing like Skyrim, if you're even playing like Witcher 3, you're going to be able to play those games pretty well. Cyberpunk 2077, when that comes out, we can assess it. It'll probably be able to be played not at like optimal settings and frame rates, but you'll definitely be able to play it. The Ryzen 3 1200 just still holds up really well as well. Ideally, you would want a newer gen, but it is what it is. At $600, there wasn't any other options, so I wanted to give this a mention. Okay, Skytech Blaze 2 gaming PC. This one has a Ryzen 5 2600 6-core 3.4 GHz CPU. Pretty good CPU there, although not the latest gen. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1666GB, 500GB SSD, 8GB of DDR4 RAM, and all that good stuff. Remember that these PCs do have Windows 10 installed as well. That's valued at around $100 unless you go a different route. We won't talk about that here. $750 for this one is pretty good. The 1660 is a great GPU at 1080p gaming. You can even push some 1440p, but if you're in this budget range, you're probably going with 1080. That's really good. Ideally, you would want 16 gigabytes of RAM when you're creeping up to these higher price ranges, but you can always make that upgrade sometime down the line. It is just a 500 gigabyte SSD, though. That is something you absolutely should be aware about, because 500 gigabytes is going to fill up really quickly, so be of the mindset, maybe pick up an external for extra storage, maybe pick up a hard drive, or if you're going to be good with 500 gigabyte SSD, I know a lot of people are okay with deleting, re-downloading, all that stuff. I'm just kind of picky. We're like, dude, 1 terabyte ain't enough for me. I want 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes, even 4 terabytes at times, but you know, I'm recording a lot of footage and things like that, so everybody's not in my position. Nevertheless, $750 for that is pretty good. Next up, we have the Skytech Blaze 2. This one's $830. You once again get a Ryzen 5 2600, that's 6-core. You get an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Ti, so that is a little bit of a bump. 500 gigabyte SSD, 8 gigabytes of DDR4, so you're paying for a little bit more to get a better GPU. That should be pretty self-explanatory. It's a little bit better, pretty much the same across the board on the other end. However, if you go to the $900 tier, you can get the Archangel gaming PC from, once again, Skytech. This includes a Ryzen 5 3600 3.6 GHz, a GTX 1660, my apologies, 6 gigabytes, so you're actually bumping down a little bit from the 1660 Ti to the 1660. You got a 500 gigabyte SSD, and you get DDR4 RAM 8 gigabytes. So what you're paying for here is a Ryzen 5 bump. Is that bump worth it? Probably not. I would probably go with the aforementioned Skytech Blaze 2, but I wanted to give that a mention if you did want a better GPU, or I should say a better CPU in this one. Okay, next up, we have a couple of options at $1,000. We actually have 3. First up, there's the Skytech Archangel Gaming PC Desktop. This has a Ryzen 5 3600 3.6 GHz, a GTX 1660 Super, which is pretty good, 500 gigabyte SSD, that aforementioned, much sought after 16 gigabytes of DDR4, 3000 megahertz, and yeah, that's pretty good. The fact it has 16 gigabytes, the fact it's a Ryzen 5 3600, that's huge, and a 1660 Super is pretty good. Not quite a TI, but very, very comparable, and value-wise, it's really good. Okay, alternatively, the other option at $1,000 is the iBUYPOWER gaming PC, Element 9260. This has an Intel Core i7 9700F 3.0 GHz, which isn't absolutely ideal as far as an i7 goes. You want something like a 9700K, but still pretty decent. That's 3 GHz. It does turbo boost. An NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Ti 6 GB, so that is a bit of a bump from the 1660 Super. You get 16 GB of DDR4 RAM, and here's a pretty notable thing. You get 240GB SSD and a 1TB hard drive. So here, you're swapping out the CPU, you're going the Intel route, which Intel CPU-wise, I'm really high on AMD these days, but an i7 9700F is still going to be very solid. You're getting a slight bump on the GPU, you're getting 16GB of RAM as well, and then you're varying the SSD a little bit. 240GB SSD, so you're falling off a little bit on the SSD side of things, but you are getting a 1TB hard drive. I think if I was to make a decision, this is what suits my needs a little bit better, because I want to put my key applications on that 240GB SSD, and then I want to put my main stuff on the 1TB. I should say my extra stuff, like maybe some miscellaneous games and things like that, movies, other downloads, things of that nature would go on the 1TB hard drive. Both options are pretty solid, so you really can't go wrong, but it's more of an issue of assessing your own needs and then picking the one that you think would be better fit for you. So there you have it with that. Okay, I want to illustrate one other $1,000 option, which is pretty funny to me. This one is really, really bad, and the fact that it has a 4.5-star rating on Amazon is kind of questionable. I shouldn't say it's really bad, but not quite as good as the aforementioned one. So this one has an Intel Core i7 9700, so it's not an F, so you get integrated graphics on that. Big deal. You get an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660, so a little bit of a drop-off from the 1660 Ti, quite a bit, since it's not even the Super. You get 512GB SSD, so no 1TB hard drive. You get 8GB of RAM, so you literally lose out on half the RAM, and it's still $1,000, and people are buying this. This I don't think is a good option. I just want to illustrate the fact that automatically, if something has a good rating, that doesn't mean that it's a slam dunk automatic win. Because in this case, unless I'm missing something, this one doesn't look all too hot to me. Maybe it's the Dell price tax, but yeah, you just assess it, and I'm not really feeling this one. It is an NVMe, a solid-state drive, but look, you're missing out on half the RAM. You're getting it docked down on the GPU. Just don't really like this option at all, to be honest. I just wanted to illustrate that for you guys. Okay, now we're going to the very, very high-end options, which, yeah, if you're getting these, you're kind of a baller, so, like, you probably aren't even watching this video, but we'll go through them rather quickly. $1,450 will get you the Skytech Chronos gaming PC. That's an AMD Ryzen 7 2700X, an NVIDIA RTX 2070 Super 8GB GPU, 16GB of DDR4 RAM, 2 8GB sticks, a 1TB SSD, and a 650-watt gold power supply, so that's really nice. It's pricey, but you know, you're getting a top-of-the-line PC here. And not top-of-the-line, you're getting a high-end PC. This is what I would call a high-end PC. My thresholds on what I consider mid-range, high-end vary from other people, so top-of-the-line, definitely not top-of-the-line in terms of top-of-the-line by definition is like the best PC money can buy. And it's not that, but it's a damn good one that would be great for 1440p gaming. I wouldn't say get this for 1080p gaming because it's just going to beast through everything and you're not getting the most out of the 2070, but not a bad option here either. Okay, at $1,630, you can get the CUK Stratos Micro Gaming Desktop, so I guess this might be a smaller form factor. Yeah, it is AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, 32GB of DDR4 RAM, 1TB NVMe SSD, an RTX 2070 here, and a 600-watt gold power supply. This is $1,630. Kind of pricey. Personally, I think this is a little bit overkill. 32GB of DDR4 RAM I don't really think is necessary for a lot of people. I think 16GB is great, and if you want to upgrade in the future, by all means, do that. But the future can do that, not the current. I don't think 32GB is really that serviceable and ideal. 1TB NVMe is decent. RTX 2070, yeah, that's good, but you're paying a lot here, $1,630, so maybe go with the $1,449 option, but hey, you're getting a better CPU here, you're getting a beefy SSD, and you're getting, the 600-watt gold power supply, very similar to the other build, but a little bit more expensive. Lastly, the CyberPower PC Gamer Supreme Liquid Cool Gaming PC. This is $2,000. Like, I would never advocate spending $2,000 on a computer unless you're, like, the rich dad and you want to get your kids something that's really nice, so I don't know. Intel Core i9 9900K 3.6 GHz, NVIDIA RTX 2080 Super 8GB, 16GB of DDR4 RAM, 500GB NVMe SSD. You got a 2TB hard drive in there as well, and yes, it's $2,000. It's $2,000, damn it. Like, if you're gonna spend $2,000, I guess. Like, it's not like they're ripping you off outright. Obviously, pre-builds are always gonna be a little bit more expensive, but Dude, it's $2,000. Like, let me just say that again. $2,000, dude. That's like more than my mortgage. Or I should say my rent. Whatever. You guys get the idea. Like, $2,000. Okay. Yeah, you guys get the idea. If you have the money, go for it. I wouldn't personally recommend it. So that's going to conclude this video, guys. I hope I went through everything as adequately as you guys would have liked. Is there another option or two on Amazon? Maybe by the time you're watching this video, they restocked on something, but a lot of this stuff goes in and out of stock. Leave a comment if you have a question. More than happy to try to answer questions as long as I'm not overwhelmed. I'll do this update again in the future. Also, bear in mind, NVIDIA is about to release new graphics cards. I really should have said this at the top of this video, but NVIDIA is about to release new graphics cards. If you want to get a PC right now, you can get a PC right now, but eventually, these pre-builts are going to implement the 3000 series of GPUs, and that might be a little bit more advantageous of an option. However, those 3000 series GPUs, you're lying to yourselves if you think they're going to be pretty cheap. Not going to be cheap, but they're going to be premier GPUs, so that is an option as well if you want to go, you know, baller end status of that, and otherwise, these options aren't completely terrible and a spit in your face. But that's going to wrap up this video. If you guys want to have a request for a future video, comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate it if you guys hit that button, so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.